And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, talking business from my home office in White Plains, New York. Another edition of CBSI Talking Business, talking to marketing professionals and people in financial services and business educators. And CBSI Services, of course, almost 40 years working, supporting the credit card industry with special benefit programs in fields of insurance, warranties, travel, and premium services. Now, we have a chance to talk with a friend of ours who lives just really around the corner from me, and that is Anne Jordan Duffy of Westfair Communications. Anne, good to talk with you today.
Good to speak with you, Ken. Thank you so much for connecting with me. It's a different world today.
Absolutely. I mean, we met at the very nice event run by the Westchester Business Council, Business Council of Westchester, about a couple of months ago in January. And you had a chance to explain a little bit about your company. Tell us a little bit about the publications of Westfair Communications.
Absolutely. So the Westchester County Business Journal, the Fairfield County Business Journal, and WAG Magazine, they're all under the umbrella of Westfair Communications. So we're a weekly publication in print. The Westchester County Business Journal, obviously focusing on Westchester, Fairfield County Business Journal, and WAG, which is a consumer magazine, which is a monthly publication. Now, during these times, we have readers who are, working from their home offices, not unlike you and me. And we've actually have decided to go digital so that we can send the paper as a flip book to our readers in this interim period. But we've been around for 50 plus years, and we're the only publications that address business in Westchester and Fairfield.
Very good. Well, you've been covering a lot of what's been going on. And we first, certainly in our area, have to recognize the phenomenal work by healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, technicians at all the area hospitals, White Plains Hospital and the others in the area. How is it? How are you kind of covering the work of the healthcare segment over during this crisis period?
That's a really good question. We're in constant contact with the marketing heads and the heads of doctors of the different group, like Newbon's, in Connecticut, White Plains Hospital, the Phelps, the Northwell, New York Presbyterian, Montefiore. We're seeing connections in the Montefiore systems. We are covering it consistently. We're very well respected, so we're constantly on the front lines. You have Bill Heltzel and Peter Katz, Glenn Kolanowski, Bob Rozicki, who's hitting all these articles. And, we're just so proud of the connections with these various hospitals. And we're, offering them advisories, if there's something that they need, like Stanford Hospital needed something. So we've reached out to the business community.
Well, very good. So important. Now, as you mentioned, one of the things that we're doing, we're a couple of weeks into this now, is sort of this new temporary normal for so many of us, working from home, setting up home offices, connecting to our offices, trying out new software like the Zoom platform, which is so effective. What's some of the advice that you've had for your readers and who are working from home for the first time, having to get used to this new way of doing business?
It's a great question. One of the messages I actually got from one of your emails from yesterday, you had a person named Steve on who talked about pitching in, not pitching product. Steve had said that. And I feel like at this time, the old traditional way of picking up the phone and just simply reaching out to people and just saying, listen, We're here for you. If there's anything that we can do to help your business or anything else, let us know. That's not to say we're not doing the Zoom meetings. I've talked to, like you, I talked to Marcia Gordon, John Ravitz. They're using Zoom. Other places are using Teams for their own team. Some people are doing FaceTime. Some people are doing Facebook Live. So everyone's using different things, different models, eye contact. What I'm finding effective is, email, phone calls, and handwritten notes, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, you were telling me about your little guiding system called 470, about how you stage your communication levels. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, sure. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I was talking to a person who was in charge of buying media. And I had her on the phone, and I was just kind of picking her brain. And I said, listen, she said she was very busy. And I said, how many emails do you get a day? And she said, roughly, 400. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And then I followed it up with another question of, well, how many phone calls do you get a day? And she says, about 7. And then I said, well, let me ask you this. How many handwritten notes do you get in a day? She says 0. So I've taken that philosophy to try to say to others, and you're in a sales position, is to encourage the handwritten note, especially at a time like this. People are going to remember, a reach out, whether it's on a LinkedIn or if it's on, posting. That's the other thing too that I do want to say. When you're home, I do find the social media vehicles very effective, because then you are able to link and tag others who you may have had a meeting with or you're in constant contact with, and you just haven't seen that person in 3 or 4 weeks, who you would normally have seen at a Westchester County Association meeting or business council meeting. So so referencing the 470 rule is really pushing the human touch element into the sales cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. What a good reminder to write thank you notes. Always a good practice. But I've seen a number of leaders who really concentrate on spending a certain amount of time every evening writing a few thank you notes. And what a good recommendation and practice that is. Now, you mentioned some other different types of platforms, FaceTime and others. I think right now, sometimes I'm wondering, when I have to go back to a message, is which platform did I get that message on, to look up a note or a phone number. Which are the ones that you are finding the most success with and recommending to your viewers and readers?
So it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is just talking to one person, if it's just one person, you could do FaceTime or a phone call. If you're looking to have a meeting with others, Zoom does work. I know the CEO came out yesterday or the day before apologizing. There were some privacy issues, but Eric Wan did come forward yesterday to apologize. But I think he was just taken actually by storm with the accelerated pace of, how many school districts and businesses were going to be relying on Zoom. But I think Zoom does offer an opportunity where you can read people's facial expressions. You can read like 70% of communications, even more so, is, subliminal and not talking. And, the pauses and the eye contact. And Zoom does allow for that. There are some internal meetings of Teams that's through Microsoft Office 365 you can do. That would be more internal. I will tell you, like, a superintendent of schools here in White Plains has used Facebook Live. And what's kind of cool about that is the Facebook Live allows all the people to go on and ask questions while the superintendent is speaking, and he actually answers them live. So that's been really cool. We have an attorney, Anthony and Nia, who's doing them once a week, these broadcasts, Facebook Lives for lunch, and he goes on and he basically is giving you free legal advice on Facebook. Very helpful hints.
Well, as you said, you mentioned my friend Steve Forcum from Avaya talked about it's a time for pitching in, not pitching product. And yeah, it's key to being visible. Now, you and I had a discussion the other day about trying to help some of the small businesses like on Amerenik Avenue in White Plains, or could be Main Street in New Rochelle, or any of the other communities around the town or the country. Many are really struggling at implementing basics of social media, just keeping a Facebook page. I say to a local cleaner, just take a picture of what it looks like outside each day on the street, and remind people what your hours are, and maybe some of the services that you're able to provide. What are some of the thoughts you have for small businesses, family-owned, sometimes very small firms, but really are being impacted by this coronavirus crisis?
It's a really good question, Ken. I think this is the perfect opportunity to, because it is a little bit slower, you know, for some people, to build a database. You know, some of the liquor stores have had an advantage over time because they've had lists where they would get people's emails addresses and they'll send out, you know, some of these smaller shops, it's almost like they have to start with a grassroots approach and, you know, have family members post things. And, you know, video, if you look at the numbers, video versus just a photo, they should use video, have them tag people on social media, maybe get them do testimonials, because that's going to work, because you have to get people in front and center. You know, I'll be honest with you, there are restaurants that I'm going to frequent because I want them to be around in 6 or 7 months.
Sure.
You know, so we're all, you know, doing, you know, I'm eating to do my part.
Well,
but it does sadden me if someone is going to close. You know, that breaks my heart. And if there's, you know, something that we can do, we at the Business Journals, we're doing a restaurant guide, you know, with our readers to promote. So look for that. We're trying to offer opportunities. You know, we've had advertisers who've asked us to publish advisories for them, and so we're doing that. You know.
Well, it's so important to stay visible. I say to some small business owners, I still see Facebook as a very effective platform because 60% of the people have a Facebook account and they check it pretty often. And even just a quick picture if it's a restaurant of a nice food item, or a picture of what the street looks like outside, just so people know where you are. All of that can help just to show presence and show hours and service deliverability. Now, talking with Anne Jordan Duffy of Westfair Communications, you're a sales executive and working for a publication. What are some of the keys for you during this period? It's certainly hard to be marketing new ads at this point, but as you said, I got to think it's important to show presence.
It's a really good question. I think what's really important is to reach out to your customers. Let them know that you have their best interest at heart. That's really important. Listen to them if there's something that you can do for them. One of the things I keep trying to do, and of course, if, you know, with unlimited amount of time, I probably would be more effective, is, you know, I'll have clients or just stories of, you know, good business practices. So I will go on to Westfair Online. I'll see a story. I will post it. I will tag the people I know who work for that company. A friend of mine was helping out with the with United Way of Westchester and Putnam. I tagged my friend. I tagged Tom Gabrielle, who's the new CEO and doing a great job at United Way. Elisa Keston, of course, Volunteer New York. You know, just know, ask it. You know what it is, Ken? It's asking questions. And you being an interviewer are perfect at this, because you understand it's only through questions that you actually learn much more.
Absolutely. I always find that if I don't know the answer to the question, I will ask it in press conferences and other situations. Tell us a little bit about now, if someone goes now to your online version, your platform, what is the outlet, the URL again, and what will be some of the stories that someone will find when they go to your online address?
So it's westfaironline.com. This is my kids' school dry erase board I'm using. So
okay, very effective.
Westfaironline.com. If you go there now, you will see that you can click on this week's business journal, and it'll take you to a flippable book of the paper. It'll even link all the advertisers to their own websites. Very effective. And what's really nice is that you can enlarge it. So if the font, you know, you talk about ebooks, and some people love ebooks because they can enlarge the font. You can enlarge the paper, the digital product. But you also have a search engine. So you can look up companies that we've covered in the past. You can look up advice columns. You can find, you know, Citrin Cooperman. You can find ENEA. You can find messages from White Plains Hospital Center, from the banks. You know, we're covering Cuomo. I mean, this virus has put, and I think I actually kind of referenced this yesterday, you know, we're getting 400,000 hits a month.
Wow.
You know, because people see that Westchester and Fairfield are hot spots right now. New York is the epicenter. We're right outside of Manhattan. People are looking towards us for business. And what I loved the other day is I saw Ginsburg buying, you know, Stratus in Yonkers. Business is still being done. And there's also small businesses need to see what's available to them. And you're reading all the SBAs and the loans and everything that's going out right now. I just read something about the healthcare being pushed back towards the summer for the premiums. So they're, you know, the government is trying to work with the small businesses.
Well, your publication is staying on top of the coronavirus situation right here, as you said, one of the unfortunate areas highly affected by this crisis. So we're enjoying our talk with Anne Jordan Duffy, who I like to point out is a Holy Cross grad, just up the road from where I went to school in Providence, and many friends from Holy Cross. Do you have a final thought for our audience today on how to get through this coronavirus crisis from a business point of view?
I think history teaches us that it's important to be hopeful, optimistic, and listen to what people's needs are. And if you're able to do that, I think the businesses will prevail.
Well, that's good advice and a great summary. Your publication is doing a lot, Westfair Communications, and a lot of activity, a lot of good information on your website. And Anne Jordan Duffy, just a pleasure to speak with you today.
Ken, thank you. And of course, I wouldn't be able to do that without the support of Dee Del Bello, who's our publisher and has been for a long time and doing a great job through her leadership.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we can do this again down the road. Thank you again for joining us today on CBSI Talking Business, and really enjoyed hearing your insight.
Thank you, Ken. Be safe, be healthy, and be well.
We'll try and that to all of our audience as well. And again, this is Ken Kraetzer on behalf of our team at CBS Services based in Harrison, New York, serving the credit card industry with benefits and warranty programs, travel programs, a lot of customer service management right now, taking care, especially we took care of a lot of travel customers over the last couple of weeks as so many cancellations occurred and trips had to change. So always want to shout out to our team back in Harrison. And so again, from my home office in White Plains, New York, this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, Talking Business. Have a great day, everybody, and stay well.